Good afternoon, all, and good morning to some of you. It is so good to see you here today. For those of you who were with us last week, thanks for joining us again. And for those of you who are new here, welcome, welcome. Today we're going to talk about culturally responsive coaching in schools. Again, our hope is really just that we can support you all who are leading schools and leading districts and working as support during this crisis time with two goals, really. One, to give you tools that can help you support others, but also we want to be here to support you. We have found that we have started to lose a little bit of our own sanity if we don't get to pour into the people we normally get to pour into. Just as a point of information, I have included in the chat a handout so that if you want to use the culturally responsive coaching approach, you have it available to you. And I've also included copies of the slides based on feedback that we received from last week. So to get us started, if you would please in the chat, share two things that are going well, either for you personally, for your school, or for your district so far this week. Again, we'd like to use that information to just uplift each other. Celebration is one of our key strategies. And so we look forward to hearing from you. Sometimes it's the smallest of things we need to celebrate. I notice when my spirit gets a little low, I'm like, did I shower today or not? So I will, as you get an opportunity, please just share for us good things that you think are happening for you. And I'll add in for your family and for your school or for your district so far this week, because we just like to be able to lift those things up more for everyone else. So Jamila, celebrations with our graduating seniors is an amazing experience. Oh, we use TikTok videos for the class of 2020. That's ingenious. I love it. University City School Districts doing a great job of having meals accessible for students and taking care of teacher wellness through our weekly virtual happy hour. Oh, Nicole, I'd love to hear more about how some of those happy hours are going. Oh, and then Dr. Marjorie Williams, she had some raccoons in her attic. I do know about that. And so she secured her house from the wildlife. You know, one thing that's happening as it relates to our environment is that the little critters are just having a blast with all of us being inside. So just continue to share those as we continue to talk today. I'm going to turn it, I did not say my name. My name is Dr. Nicole Price, and Dr. Ian Roberts is going to take it from here.
Thank you so much, Nicole. And thank you all for being on this morning and celebrating. As Nicole pointed out, one of our key strategies is that of celebration. And we often and always start any gathering with celebrations because there's so much in K-12 education that we can complain about, but there's so much more that we can celebrate. So we ought to over-index on the celebration. Approximately 10 years ago, Nicole and I and team, we posed a few research questions really centered around this idea of if students are given multiple opportunities to succeed, multiple chances to increase their academic behavior or social success, will they have an increased chance of success? Similarly, we pose the same question around the adults. If teachers and school leaders are given multiple chances to get it right, to improve their craft, are they likely to get better, to succeed? And during the research process, of course, we came up with an alternative and a null hypothesis. Of course, we rejected the null hypothesis and answered that question in the affirmative. And as a result, we landed on 7 key strategies that we have been sharing throughout the United States, in Africa, South Africa, and Zimbabwe, to be specific. Educators in those 2 countries have used these strategies in some places in the Caribbean. And they have found that either collectively or individually, the strategies have added tremendous value to the work that they're doing. So the 7 strategies are engage in the community, of course, empathy and compassion, the daily operational excellence plan, having non-negotiables as a team or individual, coaching, which we will talk about today, which is grounded in today's session, celebration, which we started our session today with, and mission and vision. If you missed last week we talked about strategy number one, which is engaging the community, because during this pandemic, it's incredibly important that we find ways to effectively engage the community in a manner that gives them the impression that we're working alongside them and with them, and that we're not doing something to them. So what is culturally responsive coaching? And the term culturally responsive coaching, you'll see a number of different definitions, but the one that we utilize and are anchoring our work in, it's sort of an offshoot from the definition of culturally responsive pedagogy. And we know that that is a sort of a student-centered approach, which we look at students' unique cultural strengths, and we identify and nurture what those strengths are so that we can promote achievement and a sense of where they are in the world. Similarly, when we think of culturally responsive coaching and its applicability to the adults with whom we work, we want individuals to be able to receive coaching that takes them from where they currently are, also to the place where ultimately we want them to get to, so that they can be their best selves. With culturally responsive coaching, we think of three sort of tenets in which we want to ground that approach. One, we want individuals who are recipients of such coaching to feel seen, to feel heard, and to feel supported. Essentially, we have a culturally responsive continuum where we have individuals, as we think about where they are on the continuum, and the continuum has 4 different points. And by the end of our 5th session in this series, we are going to share with you that instrument, which is a culturally responsive continuum. And essentially, the goal is to get individuals, as a result of this coaching, to become culturally proficient. Not just culturally competent, but culturally proficient. And proficiency is at the one end of the spectrum, while the beginning of the spectrum is where you are culturally, consciously destructive. And so we'll talk a lot more about that as we get into the 3rd, 4th, and 5th session. And so the goal, again, is to get individuals from a place of where they're destructive culturally to where they can become proficient. Individuals haven't received the coaching in terms of having them feel heard. We want to make sure that we are engaging in a lot of constructivist listening, as well as acknowledging who they are as individuals and as stakeholders. The goals, essentially, of culturally responsive coaching, and these goals transcend just culturally responsive coaching. They can be used and applied to a number of other coaching approaches. And the goals are, one, we want to make sure that we are influencing performance, improving capacity, and also to ensure alignment around the mission of our teams, for ourselves and the organization. We want to be able to instill and develop in individuals who are recipients of this coaching approach to sort of build and work on their emotional and intellectual muscles around becoming much more empathetic and compassionate. Certainly during this time of crisis, we know that individuals are expected to be even much more empathetic now than they have been in the past. And the third goal, although this is not an exhaustive list of our goals of culturally responsive coaching, is for us to make sure that we're building growth not just in individuals, but in a team, for teams to become culturally proficient as well.
So who do you use the culturally responsive coaching framework for? What we like to get people to get their heads around is this is just not performance coaching. This is not for when someone is not doing something right and we need to correct. Really, this tool is designed for anyone, regardless of age or role, who comes to you and they're frustrated, they have a concern with which they need your advice, and they want to weigh their options. So think of it as anyone who's stuck in any way. And why do we use this particular tool? We all have blind spots, as I know you all know. And if we work in this way, it gives us some more insight into the person with whom we're coaching. And it also serves a dual role of allowing us to be able to have enough information so that when we do give advice, it is culturally sensitive and proficient. What we want to do today is, if there's someone on the line who has an issue that falls into one of these 4 categories, we would love to demonstrate what the tool, how the tool works. It will definitely take us past the 30 minutes, but we are going to stay on the line with whoever wants. So if you are interested, you have a situation where you're stuck right now that you'd like to work through, we are willing to do that live. And so if you would just raise your hand or just give me a note in the chat if you fall into that category, if you have a situation that's causing you some frustration or any of the other three, we would love to be able to demonstrate for the entire group how the tool works. If you got on the call a little bit after the top of the hour, we provided our coaching tool in the chat for you as well to be able to download. It's pretty self-explanatory, but we would like to do a demonstration.
Nicole, as
Yeah.
terms of process, how long will the coaching session, coaching conversation last for someone who volunteers to engage in it today?
Thank you. About 15 to 20 minutes. So it takes about 15 to 20 minutes for you to get a sense for how it works. Here are the basic steps of the process. Step one is to listen, and that might seem intuitive, but if you've been through any communication classes, you know that most of us listen for it to respond versus listening for understanding. And so there's a process called constructivist listening, where the goal is for you to benefit the coachee, not yourself. And so you are listening with an ear to try to understand. It doesn't mean you agree, but just trying to understand where the person or group is coming from. The second step is to identify what is the specific need of the person or group. And so if you can imagine, if I come to you frustrated, and let's say that we're coming from different cultural backgrounds, and you can define a culture as narrow or as broadly as you like, you might think my frustration is starting from one point, and it could be something else altogether. So I might be complaining about virtual access to my child's work, or as an educator, I might be complaining about putting grades in. And so if you are quick at the draw and you immediately just start to respond, you might think that the presenting problem is actually the problem. But we ask you to ask the person, how can I help? Be very specific and deliberate about that question, because what it'll do is clarify the goal of the conversation based on the other person or group's position. Okay?
Nicole, let me add, if I may, quickly. While as we're thinking about whether or not we're going to sort of not only volunteer today, but to utilize this process, I want to encourage you, because a number of folks on this call actually have at least 3 or 4 direct reports. I want you to encourage you to consider an issue or a challenge that you are anticipating one or some of your direct reports will bring to you, where you need some guidance around utilizing a strong coaching approach to get them unstuck with their challenge.
Thank you for that. And then we want you to, after you ask how you can help, we want you to ask the questions on the SBAR sheet. And so let me just, I'm going to stop sharing this screen and share another so that you can see what the SBAR sheet looks like and get a sense for what the questions are like. This content, we usually spend about a full day going through the content, and I don't want you to be overwhelmed by that, but just want to give you a sense for what the questions are like. So when a person comes to you with the issue or a challenge, you would then ask number 2, how can I be helpful? And then go on to number 3. And we know that you all can just do basic reading, but SBAR comes from the medical profession, when you would have surgeons in the middle of the night getting calls from their staff. And the idea was, please have at 2 o'clock in the morning, please don't come to me with a big, hairy, audacious goal that hasn't been thought through clearly. And so in the medical profession, they use this tool called SBAR, which stands for situation, what's going on, background, what's the background information I need to get up to speed, assessment, what do you think should be done, and then what's your recommendation, SBAR. And we have adjusted, based on our research, the SBAR to match what we see show up for folks in schools and districts surrounding cultural responsiveness. So it's important to ask the person to tell you about the situation so you can see from their view how they see it, and so that you're not running it through your filter and how you see the world. It's only through asking, tell me about the situation, can I learn that a teacher might have their own parents at home they're trying to work with. It's only through that situation, listening in this way, can I find out that an educator might be trying to work with their own kiddos, or maybe that they have coronavirus themselves. Most recently, when I asked that question, I learned that someone was a hoarder. And so sometimes when we were getting on Zoom calls, this requirement to show the video was embarrassing for her. And so if we don't ask those questions, sometimes we can't get outside of our own biases. Number 5 is the B in SBAR. What's the background? How's it affecting you? What have you done so far? That'll give us a sense for how much work the person has already put into it themselves, so that when we give suggestions, we're not repeating things they've already tried. Then number six is, I think, is one of my favorite ones, because what it does for you, if you coach others in this way, they will learn how to start to come to you with some ideas. So you probably heard the adage, come to me with solutions, not with problems. Well, sometimes people know what the problem is, but they haven't had a lot of experience about thinking through solutions. When you get used to asking questions in this way, people will start to think solution based. Okay. You also want to ask a person, what do they feel? In a world where most of us are logical and reasonable, we need to be reminded about the empathy and compassion component of the human existence. And so asking people about what they feel will help bring the human component back to it. And then number 7, some coaches struggle with this one, but it's here for a reason. If I got other people's assessment, what would they say you have done to contribute to this problem? And it's not to place blame, but it is to restore the locus of control, which is very helpful to returning people back to a state of happiness. And then the rest of the form is designed to brainstorm or go through recommendations, and then you share your advice. And then finally, it's not coaching if you don't have a time to check in and follow up. And so that's how the SBAR process worked. I had a person in the chat asking me if these tools will be available. If you are on the call today, we are also sending out the slides as well as the SBAR sheet for download. And you can always email info@livelyparadox.com to get any tools we have. We try to be incredibly generous all the time with our tools. Now, step 4, you want to verify that the solution you've offered up, or whatever the other person has thought was a great suggestion, has been helpful to them. And then set up a time to check in and follow up.
Nicole, let me add, if I may. One of the reasons that this tool is incredibly effective, especially as you apply it in situations where you want to sort of exhibit your culturally responsive leadership skills, or even as you're growing, is because of the time that it takes for you to go through a coaching routine. It doesn't take any longer than 20 to 25 minutes. In many instances, it can take 15 minutes. And we know that you all are incredibly busy. Educators do not have a lot of time in the day. You need more than 24 hours, 1. And 2, we also understand that this can be utilized not only with adults, but even with students who are going through a crisis. So it's applicable in many different situations.
So what questions can we answer for you, if any, about either culturally responsive coaching, when you would use this tool, how it works, or something else altogether?
I have one quick question for either one of you. In terms of utilizing this tool with a parent, a lot of the concerns and issues that come across my desk a lot of times come from our parent community. Could I walk through this, this form with a parent and get results?
Yes, I've even used this tool with teenage children. You might adjust the language just based on your experience with the parent. But when they come to you, you would again start at number 2. And instead of saying something like, what's your goal for this conversation? Just, David, you might say something like, just so that I'm clear, can you share with me how you think I could be most helpful to you today? And then walk through the conversation. And I say you try it, and then see what you find. I will tell you that sometimes people will decide somewhere before you get to options. Every once in a while, someone will say, well, I just want you to tell me what to do. And sometimes coaches think, oh, well, it didn't go so well. But actually, it worked perfectly. Because if you just tell people what to do, sometimes in the beginning, they have all kinds of resistance that now they're saying, no, please help me. Whereas before they would have been saying, no, I tried that, or that doesn't work, or I didn't ask you for that. So the questions are designed to really get a person to a point where they're open to your professional suggestions. Has that been helpful, David? Okay.
And for the benefit of the group to build you have another question, Nicole? Another chat?
I was just going to say, we did not get a volunteer to walk through a stuck area, and that is okay. I just want you to know, if you are stuck someplace and the reason you're not doing that live is because you want to maintain some level of confidentiality, we literally are doing this to save our own souls here. So if you would email info@livelyparadox to get a personalized coaching session, we are happy to help you, because that is, I mean, that's what's helping us give back to the world right now.
I want to reiterate, I think, to build on David's question, and hopefully it's for the good of the group, for all of you that are on right now. Remember, the 3 tenets in which you want to anchor just your culturally responsive coaching approach, especially with parents, stakeholder groups like children. You want to make sure that the coachee or the person feels seen, right? Again, you're acknowledging their presence. You do that in whatever skillful way that you can. The second is you want to make sure that they feel heard. Remember, really, and Nicole alluded to the constructivist sort of listening approach, and we'll talk more about that in one of the future sessions, the last 3 we have remaining. You want to make sure that you're listening constructively, and that means that the conversation should benefit the coachee, the recipient, the parent, the stakeholder who reached out to you. And this is not just active listening, it's constructivist listening. There's a distinction that we'll make in the future. And then the third, you want to make sure that before the person leaves that phone conversation, the Zoom call, or the in-person meeting, that they have some amount of resources, whether it's one or they're inundated with resources, and so that they feel supported based on the issue that they brought to you. So again, seen, heard, supported.
Well, we certainly appreciate your time on this call today. For all of you who are here, we will send you the materials. And for your own personal sanity, when you get stuck or frustrated, you can ask these questions of yourself as well. So sometimes we don't feel like calling someone else to help us, or maybe we might feel like other people are looking to us to be the ones to lead the way. Our team is getting on a 90-minute Zoom call tomorrow to walk through these same questions together, to figure out how we're going to get unstuck. And so if you ever are dealing with that as well, feel free to use the tools for that reason. If you have some specific questions that you want us to answer, feel free to stay on the line and we'll hang out here to answer those questions. Otherwise, thank you all so much. We really appreciate you.